I'm going to show you how to create a quiz or test in Blackboard, and I'll just refer to them as quizzes now, but they can also be called tests. So I'm going to go to Module 3 here in my Blackboard course. I'm going to go to Assessments and type Test, and then I'm going to, you can pull a test out of your library here if you have some in your library, but I'm going to create a new test by hitting Create, and then I'm going to call it TrialQuiz1 here. I had already saved that, and then here you can type in a description of the quiz so students can see that in the module, and then here you can type in the instructions for the quiz for students to see, and then once you've typed in that information, hit Submit. And let's just assume you're going to do this quiz from scratch, and I'll show you how you can do it from scratch. If you want to do a quiz from scratch, you can do a calculated formula question, and so when you do that question, you can give it a question title, but I'm not going to do that. So a calculated formula question is one where you can change the values. So let me just do something very simple. Let's say that you wanted the student to calculate x plus y, and you actually have to put these variables in brackets, so I forgot that. So put x plus y in brackets. And so if you just wanted students to add two things together, you could do that. And then when you go down here, you got to tell it what to do with those. So you just say x plus y. And there's all kinds of other little formulas here, like if you want to use trig functions, or if you want to use the exponential function or log functions and things of that nature, you can do that. But anyway, so when you do next, it's going to allow you to choose, it'll allow you to choose how many decimal places to do your answer. So I'm going to leave it at 0, but if it was a more complicated question, you could put in 2 decimal places or 3 decimal places. I usually do 2 or 3 sets if I want different students to have a different question. So I'm going to do 3, and I'm going to leave the answer format normal, and then I'm going to click Next. And then it's going to give me 3 values. Now if I don't want those values, I can go in and type what values I want. So let's just say I want to do 10 plus 20, and let's say I want to do 1 plus 5, 1 plus 5. So I'm just putting in the first number for x, and let's say I want to do 3 plus 7. And then I can calculate it to make sure it calculates them correctly, and you can see it did add those numbers up. And then if you want to provide correct response feedback and incorrect response feedback, when I provide feedback for both. So I might say just add the 2 numbers together in both spots and then submit it. So I'll submit that question, and that's how you add a calculated formula question. Now if you wanted to add what's called a calculated numeric, it basically works the same way, but let's say I wanted, instead of wanting to add x plus y, I would actually tell it what numbers I want it to add. So I would do 56, say, plus 20, and again I'm doing real simple equations here, and then you tell it, so you have to know what the correct answer is, and you tell it the correct answer. So I told it the correct answer is 76. Now if it's a decimal number where I want to allow a range, I could say, I could type in, it's given me some values I've used in the past, but I could type in 0.01, so that way if they put in an answer from 75.99 to 76.01, it would give them the correct answer. And that's usually helpful, especially on money questions where there's a lot of calculations and they might be off by a penny or so, but I still want to give them credit. So anyway, and again, you can put in your correct feedback. And so in this one, I might just put in the calculation and the answer in both of those spots. So, and then you hit submit for that one. And that's how you do a calculated numeric. And then let's say you could do an either or question. You could do an essay question, but on that question they actually have to you actually have to grade the essay. Fill in multiple blanks is a question where you could say something like, what is 5 plus 6? And then you would put in a variable for that answer. And then another blank might be, what is 3 times 4? And then you put in a variable for that. And then you do, what is I don't know, 9 divided by 3, and then you put in another variable in the brackets. And then on this one, you could allow partial credit, but that's usually if you're you know, and you really want to allow partial credit here because there's 3 questions, so you're going to do partial credit. So there we're going to do partial credit, and then I go here and I enter the answers. So let's see, what are my 3 answers? 11, 12, and 3. So I'll type in 11, 12, and 3. I started at the wrong place. Why did it not take? Oh, you can see here I messed up here. So let me go previous. I didn't put in a bracket there. I put in a brace. So I need a bracket. So that's why it didn't give me all 3. So now my answers were 11, 12, and 3. So I'll type in 11, I'll type in 12, and I'll type in 3. Now, one problem about fill in the blank is, like for instance, let's say that a student put in 11.0. Well, it would be counted wrong here unless you put in another answer here and put in 11.0. That's really, so you've got to really be careful. One way that you can handle this is you can describe exactly how you want the answer, and if it's a money problem, you tell them you don't want them to use the dollar symbol, or if it's a unit problem, like if it's in grams, tell them not to use tell them not to put grams beside the answer. Just tell them to put just the number. So anyway, then you click next, and you saw there's some other things there, and there's your correct feedback if you want to give them feedback to see after they see the answers. And then there's fill in. I won't do this one. This is just to fill in one blank, so it's just like this one except it's just one blank. The hotspot, I don't like that. That's where you click on a picture. You have to click somewhere on some picture, and it doesn't work real well. Now the jumbled sentence, that particular question is you can put in several questions. So I'm going to pause it for just a second. Okay, so you can see I've put in 3 questions here: capital Arkansas, Texas, and Louisiana. And then when I click next, I'm going to allow partial credit. And down here, I'm going to put the answers in, but I can have distractors here. So let me do 7. And I'm going to pause the video while I write this so that I have time to finish it. So let me just pause. So I've entered several answers here that they can choose from. And then so I'm going to go next. And then I need to make sure I put the right answers in. So Arkansas would be Little Rock, Texas would be Austin, and then Louisiana would be Baton Rouge. And then your feedback, you can fill that in if you like, and then hit submit. Let's say you want to do a matching question. So drop down here and choose matching, and then you can put the information here. Let me pause it a minute. I just put the instructions, match each calculation to its answer, and then I have 3 plus 5 is the question, and the answer is 8. Then the next one is 2 times 5, the answer is 10. The next one is 9 minus 3, where the answer is 6. And then on the last one, I did one that had the same answer as number 1. So what you have to do if you actually are reusing an answer, you have to choose this box down here, reuse answer choice, and answer from pair 1. And I'm not going to do this on here, but I can click this button and add unmatched answer choices if you wanted to give some answer choices that aren't available. And then I usually just tell it to randomly arrange the questions and answers, but you can also do it manually down here. But I'm just going to click on randomly. And then the other thing you have to do on these is you have to tell it to update the partial credit so it gives the partial credit. Now since update the partial credit, and then I'm allowing partial credit, I want to allow negative scores for incorrect answers, so I want that, but I don't want an overall negative score for the answer, so I'm not going to click that because I prefer not to use that. So let me pause for just a second, and I'm going to submit this question. The next answer type I'm going to use is called multiple answer. So let me make that question, and then I'll come back to you. So on this one, I said choose each number divisible by 3. I allowed partial credit, allowed negative scores for incorrect answers, but no negative overall score, and I told it to show answers in random order. Now I put in 9. 9 is divisible by 3, so let me make that a correct answer. 10 is not, so I'll leave that the way it is. 12 is, so I'll click that as a correct answer. And 15 is, so I'll click that as a correct answer. And then update the partial credit. And by the way, you can actually add more if you click this box if you want to have more responses. And then all I have to do is put in any feedback that I want and then hit submit. Multiple choice is pretty straightforward. You put in a question here, so let me pause it while I enter a question. Here I just said what is 10 squared, and there's really no reason to do partial credit on multiple choice, but I chose my correct answer there to be 100, and then of course I've got 3 answers that are incorrect, and of course they don't want to choose those. And you can add more than 4 responses again by clicking on this button if you want more responses. And then you just click submit. I'm just going to tell you about some of these others. I don't know much about this one, but ordering, that's just where you have them put steps in order. I don't know about the quiz bowl. The short answer is like a short answer essay question. And then true false is just basically what it says it is true false. I want to finish this off by just showing you how to submit your test. Before you submit your test, one thing that you really want to check on is the question settings. And so go in here and make sure the specify negative points for answers are there, because if not, then you'll find that some of these questions aren't going to work properly for you. And you can read the rest of these, but definitely want to make sure that those are selected. So let me go back to this, and then you can select all answers, and I've got 7 questions. I could make them 5 points each, and then update this, and it'll make each one worth 5 points. There we go. So that worked there. And then submit your test. And then I'm about to run out of time here, but when you submit your test, just click submit. And then you get to this page where you can choose all of your test options, like how many attempts you allowed, how it's going to be graded, whether you force completion, set a timer. You can set how long you want it to display. You can make it password protected. You can set your due date, and then you can also include the test in calculations. And then finally, this tells you what the students will see.